Greetings, freaks and folks, this is Vlad the Lad, and it's been a long time since I said this the last time. 3 weeks to be precise, and this is a very long time in terms of YouTube and of the game Legends of Runeterra, or actually any online game that is updating on and on. Now, if you're interested in any particular chapter, there will be timestamps in the video description what we talk about today, because this will be a lot. I try to make it short, but it's really a ton of information, so bear with me if it's getting too long. I had a really awesome 3 weeks. I hope you had this as well. In the meantime, I got married with my wife, and it was an awesome time we had in the vacations, and I signed my work contract the past Friday. So yeah, life is good right now. I hope it's for you as well. And without any further ado, let's actually jump into the news that are actually very old from now seeing backwards. And yeah, what I missed was the 2.13 patch notes, but I wanted to talk about this at least for a couple of minutes here, because they released a new Lab of Legends, which is the Saltwater Scourge, and I think it's the first of many Lab of Legends that will come in the future with certain thematics and certain champions that you can play there. Here you can play Tahm Kench, Misfortune, and the Twisted Fate, and you have sort of a PvE with experience gain, leveling up stuff. It still feels a bit thin in a sense that you can't really level your champion, right? You get another power that you would get in the Lab of Legends as well after you complete missions. So I think there's room to improve, but I like the way that they're going, and it's really a really healthy and extremely important addition, a PvE experience to the Lab of Legends, because there are a lot of people, or a big portion of people, that actually don't really enjoy the PvP experience that, yeah, maybe the majority of the people like from Legends of Runeterra, but there is a considerably big portion of people that are playing a lot of PvE or only PvE, so really important that they go this route to just expand on the player base, right? And obviously for me as a Lab of Legends player, people call me Vlad the Lab. This was a hell of an experience, and I look forward to what they do with it. There will be also a PvE thing that we will talk in later in the video. So let's actually hop onto the bigger information bomb, or the biggest probably, that they dropped the recent weeks, which was the last region, and this is the Bandle City. Now, if you live on the rock, the Bandle City is the region that is nowhere and everywhere, is what they say, and it's the land of the Yordles. Unfortunately, a lot of people, me included, wanted to have the Void as the last region because, I don't know, I like these dark themed things, and I personally prefer these alien bug themed aliens champions over these cute little puppy-like champions, but that's maybe just me. What they also did point out is that these void champions will come into other regions where they make sense, so they will be a Kassadin and all the other awesome champions that we love from the Void and from League of Legends. Now with this announcement, they also had this trailer here, and I won't play this as a whole, because you probably already saw this. I just wanted to go over these particular moments here, which is, first of all, at the 028 we see Veigar opening the door, which is one of the other Bandlewood champions. I don't think we will get him this part of the expansion, because later we see what will probably come in this part of the expansion, but maybe I'm wrong and he will come already. I personally played a lot of Veigar in the League of Legends, so I'm definitely hyped for this magician badass dude. And then we have the Ziggs, which is also, I think he has something to do with Heimerdinger in the lore. Heimerdinger is also somebody who is joining the Bandle City in a way that we will talk about in a minute here. But Ziggs basically is another really crazy champion that I also loved and played a lot in League of Legends. And I'm definitely down for him as well and want to see what he does. But the part I'm probably most hyped about is this right here. Where is it? You see people running around here, and then at 0:59 it's happening. It's Caitlyn, and there are actually not that many people that are talking about her, or of the people in the comments and everything talking about thing we see later in this video, and also the Veigar and the Ziggs. But Caitlyn is yeah, probably one of my favorite DPS actually in League of Legends. There's one I love more, but he will be added into Legends of Runeterra later in the game, I guess. And she herself is steampunk themed, so I just love the whole design around her. And probably she will be in the upcoming expansion. At least she is in this trailer, so I would be down for that. I would definitely love to see her being added as a champion. And last but not least, I wanted to point out this moment right here. It's at 124, where we see this little scout dude, helper from Teemo, pulling out his book. And in these pages we see the upcoming champions that will come out in the next expansion, which will be the Senna as in her Sentinel form. My best guess is that they will not completely erase the other Senna, because Senna is what makes Lucian good. And also Senna has this, you know, when Lucian dies, she levels up. So I think it would be a bad idea to just erase the old Senna completely and to just add the champion Senna. They did this with the Cyphria, where we have already 4 Cyphrias now in the game. And I think that's completely fine in a card game like this. So it would be a better idea to just add Senna and leave the old Senna as she is, and not being forced to play Lucian and Senna in one deck, right? So we actually want to play Lucian with other champions and not only with the new champion Senna. This is what I wanted to point out here, without losing these instant level up for Lucian when Senna dies, like the old non-champion Senna. Then if we watch on, we have on the second page Sion, which is a Noxus champion. I haven't played him a lot, but I like the theme of him, and I'm definitely looking forward to him, what he does in this game. And then on the last page we have Zeref, which is sort of a phantom magician champion dude, and will be probably also added to the game in the next expansion, or in the next part of the expansion. They also split it into 3 parts, which will be see later in the roadmap. So yeah, that's the trailer right there in its core, or in the most important information that we got from it. And before we jump into the cards, I want to go through the roadmap for a second here. This roadmap was released at the end of July as well. And here we see that in August we will have this big expansion pack that is with the first, with the biggest chunk of cards that we get from the Bandle City expansion. It's already coming on 25th of August. And if we look on here, it's actually different than in the past, where they dropped the new region with new cards with a big chunk package. They do this as well in the August, but then normally they would be passing 2 months and then we get the next expansion. This is not happening here. In October, which would be 2 months afterwards, is just a new season that starts, a seasonal tournament, and also Battle Academia skins and cosmetics. I think that's because they drop a 4th part of the expansion, which is in November a major PvE expansion. We don't know yet what that is, but my best guess is that we will also get a part of cards related to the Bandle City, because they specifically connected it to, also in this video, connected it to the Bandle City expansion, meaning that we will get a really big PvE event that I'm totally hyped for. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, PvE is something you definitely want to keep on doing, and with that we get new cards, and right on December, like 1 month after, we already get the next expansion part, which is Magical Misadventures. And on February, you can see in this video, in 2022, we will get the last part of the Bandle City, and afterwards we don't know yet what happens, but I'm very certain that they have a lot of things planned for the future, as they provided with so much content. I just couldn't keep up with it. Like, it was also because of my vacation, right? But there was so many cards, even for people that have full-time making content about this, because there are so a million changes that they did in the last balance patch, and I still have so many decks that I wanted to try out with it. And then we had the Ruination event, and we needed to keep up with the decks there. And now this, on the 25th of August, we already get a really, really big chunk of cards again. So it's actually good that they don't release any more cards in September and October, so we get some time to breathe and actually figure out all the decks that are possible. So that's that. Let's actually jump into what you are probably here for, and this is the new cards that I released. I want to go over all of them, but I won't discuss them in a very detail like the very latest, because you probably already read them and saw other content creators talking about this, but I at least wanted to talk a bit about it. What I want to talk a bit longer about is this duo region thing that they're including now. We saw this in other card games like Magic the Gathering, where you can use, like, there are colors called and not regions. That's basically the same thing. And what they do in Magic is you can actually put as many colors in your deck as you want. And this is something that I disliked a bit about Legends of Runeterra in the past, that you are restricted regarding deck building to just 2 regions. I mean, this makes it also more challenging, but there are often moments where I just wanted to add a 3rd color into it. And I'm happy you can do this in labs, for example, and also in the expeditions you can play 3 regions there. And now they go a really clever way, to my opinion, because now that they created all these cards and balanced them to a point where you only play 2 regions, it would be overpowered to, or you could, I think, make 2 overpowered decks if you have the freedom to now use 3 regions. And now they did a really extremely clever route. So they just went it with double regions, where you have to choose between 2 of the regions, for example, with Heimerdinger with PNZ or the Bandlewood, or Bandle City it's called, or for Fizz with Bilgewater or Bandle City. And this is making up so much things for the future, where they can rework old cards and make them double region as well. What I don't really get is the Fizz and Teemo rework from artwork wise. I think they were completely fine, and maybe Teemo gets now a new level up animation. That's my biggest hope, because this is still the worst in the game. But yeah, it's just what they did, and we have to live with it now. What I think what will happen in the future, for example, with units like, or champions like Vlad, which is another Yordle, is in Noxus normally, and he will probably also be a double region champion, and I'm totally down for Vlad, because I don't know, his voice lines are so... I heard them in YouTube, because I've stopped playing League of Legends before Vlad was coming out. But I heard all these voice lines on YouTube, and this is just hilarious, and I'm totally down for Vlad being added to the game, and I hope they do this in this Bandle City expansion. So technically these champions are new, like they didn't balance it in any way, they still have the same stat line and the same text on them, but it's still in the way that they're completely new, as you can now add them in another region, and this is a big, massive deal. Like other content creators said already, it makes a really huge difference power-wise to a card where it's which region it's connected to, and we will see a lot of wild things with these champions, is my best guess in the near future. Okay, but without any more rambling about these cards, let's actually dive into the new ones. The first one that was revealed was the Bandle Tree. And the Bandle Tree is a 5-mana landmark that says round start create a follower from a new region in hand. So as I read it, every follower that you already got in hand or in game will be excluded from that region-wise. And then it says on win the game if you have summoned units from 10 regions. 10 regions is, I think, the whole game. Like, we only have 10 regions, so you have to play, or to summon at least, not play, it's important to note, a unit from every region in the game. And this is very slow win condition. So it's sort of a Star Spring in a way, that you have another win condition in the game. And I adore that they go this route, that we have the opportunity to not win only by killing the Nexus, but also to, normally in card games, to mill the enemy, or to have just a card where you win the game. But you have to be extremely careful with these cards, as they can get toxic pretty fast. And I think this and also the Star Spring and more landmarks that will be added to the game makes me confident that it will be a staple for every region that they need a landmark removal to actually deal with these cards. Right now we have really good landmark removal with Scorched Earth, for example. It's probably the best we have in the game right now, and there will be added more like this in the foreseeable future. Then we have Entrapment. I have no idea why this is 3 times here. This is 2 mana burst speed spell, and it says pick 1 of 3 units or spells from the enemy deck and plant 3 poison Puffcaps on all copies of it. So people pointed out that this goes well with Go Hard, but it's not on the future copies of it, so it will only go on all the copies that are in the deck right now. I love this card to an extent where you get information about the enemy cards. For example, if you see a card that he probably runs 3 times and you add 9 Puffcaps to the enemy deck, you know that he doesn't have the card in the hand already. Or you just, if you have 6 Puffcaps, could also be that he only has 2 copies of it. Like you're still not certain about it, but if there are 9, you're definitely certain that he has no copy of that in hand right now. And if he draws a card afterwards with 3 Puffcaps, it's very likely that he drew that particular card. So this is maybe not so important for tournaments where you know already what cards the enemy has in the deck, but more so for ranked and other random fun tournament things where you don't know the enemy deck, and their Entrapment comes into play for sure. And it's probably +9 Puffcaps, which is already 60% from Teemo's level up. Then we have the Ava Achiever, which is a 6 mana 4/4 Yordle. By the way, I haven't talked about it, but we have new keywords or other races in Legends of Runeterra, I don't know. But actually the word over the card type, which is a Yordle. And we have Phase. We haven't seen yet any cards that are related to Yordles or Phase, but I think they will show something in the future. And it says, when I'm summoned and round end, plant 3 poison Puffcaps on random cards on the enemy deck. Traps on enemy cards are doubled when activated. And this is toxic as hell. Not only theme-wise, but also what he does. So you definitely need to remove that dude, because every Puffcap now does 2 damage, which is a ton, considering that you could easily kill the enemy off with the old Puffcap version. It's important to note that he is in Bandle City only and not in PNZ, so you probably need to double up with the PNZ package, but then it can be extremely nutty with the Puffcap Paddler, and then the Ava Achiever is a win condition on its own. I don't think you need Teemo and even in this mix. It will be extremely strong, but it's important to note that you miss out on all the control cards or whatever you normally play with Freljord most of the time. You don't have access to that with the combination of Bandle City and the PNZ raid. Then we have the Aloof Travelers, which is a 4 mana 3/4, and it says when I'm summoned, both players draw 1, so it's sort of the Veteran Investigator. And then it says then your opponent discards the highest cost card. And like people pointed out, yes, that's extremely strong. Discarding the highest cost card, it's one of the hand disruption tools that there are very few. They were extremely careful with hand removal stuff in the past from card design wise, and the Aloof Travelers is just extremely strong. Like, removing the highest cost card is most of the time removing their win condition, things that are crucial for the enemy to win. And if you just discard it with a common card for 4 mana, it comes even with a body 3/4, is extremely strong. And the fact that it's a summoning effect is also something that people didn't point it out, but you can actually, it's even a double region card, so you can play it in Bandle City and PNZ, and then you can play it maybe with Shadow Isles, for example, with the Chronicle of Ruin, and resummon this card. And yeah, having this as another mill condition even, for example, like discarding all their win conditions and just give them their old or their weaker cards is extremely sick while you still draw a card. So people said that this is probably the strongest card of all the releases yet, and I totally agree with that. I hope that this isn't too toxic in the future. We will see about that. Then we have the Yordle Newbie, a 3-mana 3/2 that says when I'm summoned, if you have added 2 cards to your hand, this round grant me +1/+2. So it will be a 4/4 in the end, which is for 3 mana a better stat line that it should be, right? But it comes with a condition. And I don't think that this is a really good card, as 3 mana 4/4s in the past were just too weak because of the power creep that happened. In the very first days of Legends of Runeterra, a 4/4 was considered toxic, but not anymore. Like, no keywords, no effects with it. And you can even silence this to an extent where then it's a 3/2 in case you need it. So it's not even a stable 4/4, right? So no, I don't think it will be good. Then we have the Stinky Whump, which just has a hilarious art, and it's a 2/1 body, 1-drop, and it says Last Breath. Create a copy of me in the enemy deck with 2 poison Puffcaps attached. So it's a pesky spectre in a sense that he will be added to the enemy deck, and then if he draws it, he draws 2 Puffcaps with it. So I'm pretty sure that this is an auto-include in every Teemo deck from now on with PNZ. And yeah, since it's the Last Breath effect, you can also resummon this dude, for example, and trigger this effect more than once. So yeah, totally a awesome card. It's also balanced in a sense. It's only 2 Puffcaps and not 3 or 4. It would be way too strong for a 1-drop. It already does a lot for 1 mana. Being a 2/1 body is also, I think, the best setline that you can expect from a 1-drop. Then we have Poison Dart. That's a 1 mana slow speed spell. It says deal 1 to anything and plant 3 poison Puffcaps on random cards on enemy deck. Is a slow speed removal, sort of a go hard in a sense. It also can go face. This is extremely important to point out, because people said this is sort of the Victor spell, but it's actually not. It's the worst Victor spell, because the Victor spell is on fast speed. But the problem with this is that it only targets units, and the Poison Dart can actually also go face, which is a potential planet trigger, for example, and can also finish off the enemy if he only has 1 HP left. Then we have the Sump Fumes, which is a 3 mana fast speed spell, and says deal 2 to a unit. If you've added 2 cards, +2 cards to your hand this round, deal 3 to it instead. I think that's a really bad card, considering all the removal cards that PNZ already has. I think it's the worst gacha, even, and even gacha doesn't see that much play in the ranked. You see this in expeditions maybe, but Sump Fumes for 3 mana, 3 damage just to units is just too bad. If it could go face, it would be good, but it doesn't, so I don't see this being played in any shape or form, to be honest. Then we have the Puffcap Pup, English, and it's a 2 mana 2/2 with quick attack, and it says upon strike, plant 3 poison Puffcaps on random cards on the enemy deck. So it's just a very good by providing you with Puffcaps. It's not that easy to say how good this card is yet, because it's in Bandle City and not in PNZ. Because if it would be in PNZ, you have all these pings with Mystic Shot and stuff, where you can lower the HP from blocking units and then make use of the quick attack from the Puffcap Pup. Because it's important to know that 2 attack and quick attack having this combination is not very good. We have seen that with Akshan, and Akshan almost always needs a buff to make use of his quick attack, because having 3 HP and on mana 2 or 3 is really easy for other followers to have, and you always have to pump this up or deal damage to the blocker from the Puffcap Pup to make use of the quick attack, and otherwise it's kind of useless. So we have to wait and see what Bandle City holds on spell-wise. Then we have the Electron Yordle, which is a 4 mana, also Yordle type, and 3/5 body. Says when I'm summoned or attack, create a fleeting Poison Dart in hand, which is this 1 mana card that we talked about before. And this can be a very good card in or I think it's already a staple in Puffcap decks, which are with Bandle City, if you want to play Teemo in the Bandle City. Because he is at 4 mana, and there are not many 4-drops that you want to run in these decks so far, and he gives you these Poison Darts, adding more Puffcaps to the enemy deck, plus it will, upon summon and attack, give you these Poison Darts, which also means that things like Yordle Newbie, even though you wouldn't play him most of the time, but cards like this will be added more to the, I think that's something that comes more. With these, you need to have the 2+ cards in your hand this round, and it's extremely easy to meet this requirement with the Lecturing Yordle, if you play him on your attack turn, for example. Pretty good card overall, and it's definitely a auto-include, I think, in Puffcap decks in Bandle City. I actually wanted to speed up things a bit, right? Yeah, I need to talk less. There is the Swole Scout next card. It's a 4-mana 3/2 buddy, and if you have this +2 cards requirement that I talked about a second ago, you will get these +1 attack and elusive, so it's a 4/2 buddy with elusive. But for 4 mana, I see this being pretty bad. He needs some stats more than that. Maybe 1 more attack, but I think the better route would be to give him 1 more HP. Then I definitely see him being played, but other than that, it's just too weak. It dies to an Avalanche, it dies to Mystic Shot, it dies to so many things. And 4 mana is a heavy investment for just a Mystic Shot or whatever, right? Then we have the Poro Sled, which has a hilarious art. It's a 5-mana 5/5 Poro, and it says attack, summon an attacking random 1-cost Poro, and itself has impact. Now, impact is, if you don't know, in your keyword that says when this strikes while attacking, it deals 1 to the enemy nexus. This keyword can stack, so you can have impact multiple times on units, and thus deal 1 more damage for each stack of impact when it strikes while attacking. It's a bit complicated, but what I want to point out here, as well as the Proto Poro, which is the Bandle City Poro, is my best guess, even though it's double region. So you can run it in a Freljord, which is the best version for Poros, because they have the biggest Poro support. But you can also run it in Bandle City, and also has impact and is 1-mana 1/1. And with these 2 cards, it's important to point out that I think other people haven't talked about it, that striking doesn't only mean that he himself strikes while attacking, but it also means every strike that he puts out afterwards, like with spells, right? We have single combat, we have the Bloody Business, we have even Judgment. So think of having a full board of Poros, then you attack also with the Poro Sled, and then you Judgment the whole board, and this dude alone does 6 damage plus the potential overwhelm units that come through. So Poro Sled, yeah, is probably, without Judgment or other support cards, a bit bad, because 5-mana 5/5 with only impact and none other keywords is a bit too expensive. But I like the fact that they have more big Poros for the later game being added to the archetype. And it's also, by the way, a double region for Freljord and Bandle City. Then we have the Stone Stackers, which is a 2-mana 2/2 Yordle, and has tough and impact. So it's better than the other elite that has 2-mana. It's a 2-mana 2/2 with tough. It even has impact on top of it. I don't know yet how good this is. We have to see all the other Yordle support that will come later down the line. Also the other Yordles. Maybe this Swole Scout, for example, will get better with other cards that say maybe give +1 HP to every Yordle or something. Maybe we will see this in the future. And then the Swole Scout will definitely get better, as well as the Stone Stackers. But for now, I think it's quite of an underrated keyword, the toughness. But if you look at the card pool, there are not that many cards that have tough, and most of the time, bigger followers and champions have tough that cost more. But effectively, tough is something that is in value engine, where you just block smaller damage sources and get no damage from it, right? So I think it's a healthy addition, and I don't know how this goes together, like tough and impact. We have to see what this does in the future. Then we have the Arena Kingpin, which is a 3-mana 4/2 body with quick attack, being added to Noxus and Bandle City as a double region card. So it's essentially a worse Senna. Senna also has a 3-mana 4/2 body with quick attack, but Senna can be buffed with double attack and +1/+1 if Lucian dies, and otherwise if she dies, she levels up the Lucian. So she's way better in that sense. But now we have this also in Bandle City and Noxus. For Noxus terms, it's always better to play LeBlanc, obviously, but then you use a champion slot for it. I don't think that you want to play it in Noxus because of that. Otherwise, you would just play LeBlanc, or if you have the control version of Noxus, you just play damage cards, and then you don't want quick attack. You rather want units that provide you with non-combat damage to level up Swain, for example. and have this control type Noxus, or you want to have a very aggressive version of Noxus, and then you need Overwhelm instead of Quick Attack. So I don't know how good this is in Noxus, but in Bandle City it could see play. We will see about that in the future. Then we have Treasure Trash, which is another 10 mana slow speed bomb. More of a meme card, I think, but yeah, maybe I could be wrong about this. It says fill your hand with random cards. They cost 0 and are fleeting, so it's sort of a treasure trove. But the downside of it is that you can only play 3 more cards this round, which means, yeah, you can only maximum have 3 cards of these, of the pool that you are getting then, but you fill your hand with it, it's important to note. And they all cost 0 mana, so it's a very random thing, sort of the University of Piltover. A fun card, I would definitely play it, you can bet your ass on that, but I don't know how competitive it will be. But I definitely know that Hidden Pathways is very, very competitive, as this is a 5 mana burst speed card, and the main draw card of this region is my best guess, because it says cost 2 less if you have created 2+ cards this game and draw 2. So you can compare this most of the time with Whispered Words, where you draw 2 cards, and here you, instead of being at 2 mana and 4 mana before, you play, it costs 1 more, but the condition is not your reputation, which is harder to pull off. You just need to create 2+ cards this game, and not even this round, to just discount this. And for 3 mana, drawing 2 is, yeah, just a great card overall. It refills your hand, and it's the best top deck you can get in the late game. So you're always happy to find hidden pathways where you want to cycle through your deck. Then we have the Bandle Commando, which is a 2 mana 1/2 elusive body, and it says Nexus Strike, create a Hungry Owlcat in hand. Now, in case you don't know, the Hungry Owlcat is this over here. This is probably the... I won't use this superlative all over again, but probably the best artwork so far. Like, googly eyes are always fun, and yeah, it just looks stupid, and it's a owl and a cat at the same time. So just profit. And it's actually not a cat nor a owl, it's a fae, and it's a 1 mana 2/1 body with spell shield, being possible in Ionia and Bandle City. Now, I don't really know why it has a double region, because it's not main deckable. It's important to note, it just can be created by the Bandle Commando, and also by the Babbling Balladeers, which is the other card right here, a 3 mana 2/4 body, and it says when I'm summoned, create a Hungry Owlcat in hand. I don't really see a use of Hungry Owlcat yet, but Spell Shield is an extremely strong, maybe one of the strongest keywords there are in the game. We have seen that with Sivir, for example, that is dominating the meta right now. Having these Owlcats and spamming them, and none of these can be removed by an avalanche, for example, is something that feels really good, and where you probably have a buff all your board cards and all these Owlcats, and then you rush through. So yeah, I'm definitely down for this card. I don't know how good the Bandle Commando is though, because a 2 mana 1/2 body elusive is a bit meh, and most of the time it will get removed. But this Nexus Strike effect is definitely a value engine in itself. Maybe I'm wrong about this, we will have to wait and see. And we have the Loping Telescope, a 2 mana 2/1 body, another fae, that says play Manifest, a random celestial that costs 3 or less, epic, or multi-region follower. Now, in case you don't know, the Manifest keyword is this right here. It says create in hand 1 of 3 randomly selected cards. So with this Loping Telescope, it means you get from the pool of the Celestials that costs 3 or less, or epic, or a multi-region follower, is how I read this. So you can probably also have another Loping Telescope being showed from that, so you can play ongoing Loping Telescope if you hit it all over again. But I don't quite get this with this epic, so this means every epic card in this game and every multi-region follower in this game, plus the pool of the random Celestials from this Celestials that cost 3 or less. Very hard to rate this card, but from now on, it does the classic Targon things. You play cards and you get more cards in hand, and you never run out of gas. That's why it is in Targon, but it's also in Bandle City. So yet again, another very diverse card that I will mess around with for sure. And we're close to an end with the Furious Faefolk, which is a 7 mana 5/2 buddy, very expensive, in PNZ and Bandle City, and it has quick attack. And on top of it, when I'm summoned, if you have dealt damage to the enemy nexus 4+ times, grant me impact 4 times. So there we have the first time where we see a keyword being stacked, like the impact being stacked, which means every time this card strikes, it deals 4 damage to the enemy nexus. And if you have, like I said, single combat or judgment on it, like remember this judgment scenario where you just hit the whole board, you get 6 times 4, which means you get 24 damage just from the judgment from the Furious Faefolk. Now this is a scenario that won't happen every game. Don't get me wrong, this is a very expensive card, and being at 4 HP is extremely weak, and also the 5 attack. But it's definitely fun and worth building around, is what I want to say here. The artwork is just also just adorable. And last but not least, we have another target card. It's, besides the Loping Telescope, the only target card that was revealed here. And it's the Battle Bonds, which says grant 2 allies +2/+2. I don't really know how good this is. This doesn't work with Tarek, by the way. Tarek only copies spells that only target him, or only target 1 unit in general, and the Battle Bonds targets 2 units. What I want to say here is that Arbiter of the Peak, for example, loves this card, as Arbiter of the Peak gets discounted by 2, just by this card. And being at 4 mana and granting 4+4/+4 stats isn't too bad. Like, I wouldn't say this is a bad card at all, but it needs to find a home, and it's very diverse. Like, just granting stats is pretty good, like flexible-wise, but other than that, I don't know yet how you would use this, because normally you want to give stats or grant stats during combat, and this being slow speed makes it significantly worse. But this is just how Targan works. If you look like at things like Zenith Blade, I will definitely mess around with this for sure. And that wraps up all the cards. Thank you guys for sticking around so long. It took me way longer than I thought it would. Maybe there will be a champion release today. If there will be, there is another release, another video release today. But other than that, we'll see each other on the next champion release. That's, yeah, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 2 days from now. But we will see each other very soon, because it's spoiler season again. And yeah, this is just the honeymoon phase where we get the new cards and get to talk about them. Looking forward to that. I hope you as well. And I hope that you stick around for that. So yeah, until the next time, you stay legendary, and Vlad out.